Good early Sunday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center to give you a severe weather alert. We now have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 6:15 this morning, 4 parts of Dixie County here as we're looking toward the Gulf Coast. At about 5:36, the severe thunderstorm was located near Horseshoe Point there, or about 12 miles southwest of Cross City. Also talking about the Horseshoe Beach area as well, of course. Moving northeast, the thunderstorm is at about 40 miles per hour. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, quarter-size hail. The threats here, we have Cross City, Horseshoe Point, as well as Horseshoe Beach, Shamrock, Cross City Airport, even in toward Old Town, Eugene, Fletcher, Yellow Jacket, and Fannin Springs under this warning. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. As you see the whole area, quite a few storms really getting going here this morning now, and that blue circled area is discussing by the Storm Prediction Center about maybe issuing some type of severe thunderstorm watch here as we're looking ahead in the timeline. There's a 40% chance of that occurring, but closer inspection now of the storm toward Dixie does show here that hail indication as we're looking toward the Horseshoe Beach area. You see that one on the screen indicative of hail there over an inch in diameter, maybe about an inch and a half according to our radar, but we're looking further up in the storm. So it's not 100% in that we're getting hail that large here, but we have to just be mindful. The Weather Service is watching this because some of our other products that go a little lower even were showing severe hail potential. As I know we have quite a few significant weather advisories in play now. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of broaden the view out over on our radar scope computer because we have those significant weather advisories pulled up. As I know a lot of you, obviously not in Dixie County, but you're going to be getting some thunderstorm action or are already getting some thunderstorm action here this morning. So definitely worth noting that potential here as we are looking ahead in toward the timeline, just making things kind of treacherous out there. If you're headed out early on this Sunday, at least a lot of people not really going to be on the road here until later this morning, but even then could have, unfortunately, some nasty weather around here, maybe an organizing line further off toward the west. We'll have to wait and see, but let's go ahead and switch you on over now toward our radar scope system. You see these outline boxes here in that tannish color, and that is indicative of significant weather advisories. One here for areas around Gainesville, Lake City, Live Oak, Jasper, Trenton, Lake Butler, as well as Bell, Worthington Springs, and Worthington Spring. I know we kind of get a little bit specific there. Also, Ittatucknee Springs, Swanee Springs as well. So that potential for some nickel-sized hail, 45-mile-an-hour winds possible outside of the yellow polygon. That yellow polygon down here, I'll kind of highlight it for you here on this Sunday morning. Watching this potential here of the severe action as we're getting closer toward the Gulf Coast. So I just have to watch this here as we're looking. We'll continue to track that, of course, as we get back in here. You see Cross City, but the worst of this seems to be to the south of Cross City right now. I know we're not very close on our radar, but pretty good indications of hail falling. That could be that severe criteria, but even some maybe nickel-sized hail falling in other areas. And speaking of hail, we did get a report there near Archer at about 4:56. This was not a severe warm storm, but a hail about 9/10 of an inch in diameter there, 5 miles southeast of Archer. So it doesn't necessarily take a severe storm to get hail. That could cause maybe some very minor damage toward some of the areas. Really, once you get to an inch is when you start getting into that damage potential threshold though with the hail. I know several years ago the National Weather Service did end up changing that criteria. It used to be a 0.75 for the warnings. In that case, we probably have already had quite a few more warnings here over the last few days, even with some of these storms meeting the criteria earlier on. But that type of hail generally doesn't cause damage at 0.75, so they raised that to an inch here with that type of scenario as we watch for that. But again, the warning off toward the west, it's going to be hard to see much on velocity, but there's also the 60-mile-an-hour wind potential within this as well. But there's several areas of thunderstorms really in the picture at this point. So let's go ahead and go back over toward our Deer Level 3 computer as things are really ramping up here pretty quickly. Quicker than the model suggested, as you see toward Gainesville now, getting into some of the heavy rain there near the University of Florida, over the University of Florida here. So just have to be cognizant of that. And in fact, I know you're not under a warning, a severe thunderstorm warning over there, but let's go ahead and pull up the UF Weather Stem camera here. We'll pop that on the screen to see what's going on in that vicinity, and you do see some of that rainfall around here, something to definitely take note of for sure on this Sunday morning as we're looking outside there. Just trying to give you that visual on what's going on how things are going toward that area. So just something that's interesting to take note of for sure. I'll go ahead and go back to the radar now, zoom back out. Severe thunderstorm warning, 4 areas there, especially toward Horseshoe Beach. It's pretty rural, but we had pretty good confidence based on the distance from the radar. All of our different radars were showing some hail that was reaching that severe criteria. We thought we should break in, couple that with all the other areas of strong storminess that are occurring. This isn't a situation where we're just dealing with one isolated storm. We have a big complex of storms really getting going here. You see near Interstate 10 as well, we have quite a bit of storminess up that way as well. Storms maybe just near that severe range. You see the ones showing up. Our radar may be overestimating a little, but could get a warning on something like that even up that way here. So we'll watch for that potential. Looking here at some of our debris detection and hail detection software, really seeing some of this hail being lofted. It's hard to say that because we're so far away. We're having to look up 8,000, 9,000 feet in toward the storm, but might be seeing that as what debris looks like here. Of course, when you have that hail trying to translate versus that debris going on up from maybe a tornado. This is not really a tornado situation. There is a small chance. We were talking about it earlier on Facebook when we cut in. I'll go ahead and kind of give you an overview with some of our outlook information, in fact, because you might want to know what's going on in terms of that. So let me go ahead and broaden the view out. You do see here, we are watching Dixie for that warning. You see that mesoscale discussing there on the screen, and I'll go ahead and take that off now as we are seeing here the threat for some of that severe action. Really, it's looking like damaging winds might be the bigger threat, and the bigger threat toward the south, which is good news for us, but bad news for those with interest down toward Orlando, Tampa, Fort Myers, West Palm Beach later today. But in terms of the tornado threat, there is a small one that goes all the way up here to about I-10, give or take. And the hail threat, relatively small, though. Early on, we're seeing that try to come to fruition. It does seem maybe a lower indication of hail toward Dixie now, and that'd be good news. But we're continuing to watch the wind threat, though, the bigger concern. So we're watching that, watching the severe thunderstorm warning here, all that lightning around. That's another hazard. But we don't want to be going outside here this morning unless you absolutely have to when you're hearing that thunder around, because when you hear thunder roar, that means you need to be in or go indoors, depending on what exactly you're doing. You just see all these different strikes here on the board. Quite a bit of that around Gainesville, around Pulaski, even just to the south of Pulaski. So just having to keep that in mind. But the worst of the action here toward the Horseshoe Beach area, you see hail showing up here around Horseshoe Beach pretty large, and that's the last couple minutes. We've started to see that go down a little, though, which is good news, but we'll continue to watch that. We'll be back at the top of the hour with more information here on the Weather Center. So stick with me as we stick with this coverage for the time being here. There's temperatures in the lower 60s, and we'll just have to see exactly how much of that hail translates. But we've had confirmed hail earlier outside of a warning, but still seeing some of that toward areas around Archer and Alachua County. So watching for that, watching for all the different threats. We'll see you back here at 6 o'clock. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the top of the hour as we go ahead and give you that broad view once again. That's severe thunderstorm warning for Dixie and the other polygon, but then the storms around here, quite a few of them, quite a bit of lightning here in the picture on this Sunday morning. So making things pretty nasty out there as we're looking toward Gainesville, for instance, getting some pretty heavy rainfall in that area. As you see some of that on the right side of your screen there, but as we're getting closer toward Dixie, things seem to be leaving Dixie right now, getting over more out of the Tallahassee office responsibility area, more into toward the Jacksonville and toward the Tampa for Levy. So interesting to watch this. I don't see a lot with wind energy, but we're far away. The hail threat may be falling a little bit, but again, it's hard to see things as we're looking further away there from the radar site. You do have quite a bit of lightning though as we're getting toward Gainesville again. Here, even getting up toward Waldo, you see quite a bit of heavy rain there as well. Keystone getting into things this morning. High Springs here, getting quite a bit of this moisture around. It looks like northwest 270th Terrace, up toward southwest Gray Way as well there and toward Columbia County. Even some hail showing up a little bit stronger toward Hamilton now as we get here closer toward, it looks like River Lane. So just trying to show you what's going on up that way. Madison County, maybe a little bit of small hail toward the city of Madison. And you see more action here toward the Gulf. Now, I do want to also mention as I kind of look at some other tools here that we have some more kind of headed on into the picture. So let me go ahead and switch on over to GR Earth now. You do see here off toward the west, it's kind of hard to see right now, but it looks like we're going to have a more organized setup coming into the picture ultimately with this action in the Gulf of Mexico. That's what the models have been showing here, and we'll just have to watch to see how things go with that. I do want to put on our satellite, which can be helpful, our infrared satellite, which can be helpful in these situations. Now, it'll take just a second to load here, so bear with it, but you kind of see the one complex there, but then the more organized complex, the complex that's expected to be more organized, and it's going to clip our our southern counties and areas there north of Orlando. So we're talking about Ocala, Marion County, also Flagler County there as well. So watching for that potential with this second complex back here that should be a little more robust. Now this action out ahead might help to dampen things a little bit here as we're looking ahead. Might not see quite as robust of action. We'll just have to see, but especially as we get down toward the south, that might not be as big of a deal in terms of seeing the atmosphere trying to stabilize any, excuse me, as we go ahead and look here. I'm going to go ahead and put on now our surface-based cape, and we have quite a bit of energy there over the Gulf of Mexico, and you see some of our tornado parameters here. We do have a small chance for an isolated tornado as we look ahead into the timeline, as we've alluded to here today. You see that there in that green color, so that's something to watch here as we keep tracking things here in the Weather Center. But right now, it's a thunderstorm warning for the next little bit. Reports of Dixie County, some small hail possible south of Trenton, in Gainesville, some small hail as well. Just stuff to kind of watch here on this Sunday morning. We just want to kind of give you an idea of what's going on out there. And in fact, I'm going to do some things behind the scenes real quick here to try to give us a better look at actually what may be headed towards some areas here in Alachua County, what's already occurring in some other spots of Alachua County, because we do have some traffic cameras from Florida 511 that can be helpful in these situations. I know that thunder, you can hear it from Stark right now, picking on up a little bit, and we're going to be getting into more of this action because the storm directional movement here is off toward the east, but some of this off toward northeast. So it's going to be pretty nasty here in the Bradford County. So if you're headed out early, it's going to be a pretty wet start, it looks like, here toward Stark. So something to definitely take into consideration here this morning. You might not want to be doing too much out there, as you can kind of maybe even hear or maybe not hear some of that rain picking up in the background outside of where I'm at here in toward Bradford County. So not near as heavy or nasty as what we're seeing down toward the south, but nonetheless, just interesting to note. I know we're continuing to watch things here with the Doppler radar, trying to give you an idea of exactly what's going on toward different communities here this morning with the treacherous conditions around. And I think we're going to go ahead and get over toward our traffic system now. We're not seeing a lot on some of our tools. I might go around to quite a few things. I know we're going to lose some frames, but that's just the nature of things when we have so many things that are up to try to give you the latest information here. Kind of weighs on the system a little bit, but we'll go ahead now and switch you on over toward our other source. We have that in here now, going over here, and you see just kind of loading at the moment, but we're just trying to give you the very latest here. I'll go ahead and try to pull this up once again, as you see the Doppler on there, and then you see all that rain really in play. You see all that moisture there. This is, and there's lightning as well. I-75 at Southwest 20th Avenue here in toward parts of Alachua County. Now, this is looking southeast, but you saw the lightning. You see it's pretty nasty out there this morning, kind of telling that story. And we'll try to do a little camera tour even as we're looking at some of these different viewpoints. And some of these may not be as good, so we'll kind of pick and choose here our spots. But looking down toward mile marker 383 now, in toward parts of Alachua County. We'll be able to see how it's kind of nasty out there as well. This is a viewpoint there, mile marker 383 on I-75, and the lightning's visible from that as well. So that's kind of helpful seeing some of that here this morning to give you an idea of what's going on. Interesting to see the sky there, flash like that for sure. We'll keep this up for a little bit longer. It's just kind of interesting to see that glow here to the light, well, with the light to the sky, I mean. So that's just a view there from down there in toward that region. We'll go ahead and move away from that camera now. And in fact, let's go up toward Alachua. I know the accent may not as nasty up there, but still, to be able to see some of this in toward that region. Still strong thunderstorm accent there toward Alachua. You can kind of see more of that lightning around, definitely giving you that viewpoint here this morning. Just wet on the road, as you can tell. Goodness, wow. We're really seeing that good there on our camera angles as we're looking toward areas there in Alachua County. Really trying to show you those conditions outside. And then, again, you see our radar here on the Florida 511 site. It kind of gives us an idea of where to go with some of these cameras. And I think I'll go up to the north a little bit, actually. I know, trying to just give you some different angles on what's happening as we get toward I-10, for instance, moving away from I-75. We'll see what's happening up this way. Let's try this camera here. As I see an aerial flood warnings, this come out for Alachua, Columbia, and Gilchrist. So something that's interesting to note there. Let's go ahead and try. I know, looking away just for a second. So let's see which camera we want to go to. We'll go to this one right here. This can give us a pretty good angle on things. Potentially here at mile marker 272. So there's more of that lightning around. Definitely seeing that here this morning as you're headed out and about. So just a few of the camera angles. I think that's good for now on our camera tour here. We'll go ahead and move away from that and put up the overall radar view now, as that rain's really picking up where I'm at here in Bradford County. Making it pretty nasty out there. Not too much rain so far, but still just interesting to take note of for sure. You can hear that coming on down maybe a little bit in the background, but I know that flood warning coming into play. Let me see the specifics on that. I have it on my other computer here, so let me go ahead and tell you 9:15 for parts of Alachua, Columbia, and even getting on over here just a little bit as we look around to Gilchrist County. That potential of some heavy rain really starting to mount. Up to 4 inches may have already fallen there towards central Gilchrist, northwestern Alachua, and south central Columbia. So that is a lot of rain toward Bell, Alachua, High Springs. You kind of get the idea here as we go ahead and go on in. That is just a treacherous morning commute if you're headed out on a Sunday. So something to watch here. Right now, we're about 6:10 or so on the clock, continuing to watch the Doppler radar technology here, watching some of these storms around overall. We'll continue to give you the updates. So I'll be back here in about 4 minutes or so to see what the Weather Service does. They're going to get rid of Dixie, but we'll see if maybe another warning is issued off toward the east. Maybe as we're looking ahead, the severe threat Troy left Dixie, it seems, at this point, but they're just kind of riding that out. But we do have some other areas of storminess as well that can be pretty disruptive, as we just heard with that flood warning in play as well toward parts of Alachua County. There's rainfall numbers really adding up. You see Gilchrist here in just the last hour, maybe 2 inches showing up here, maybe even higher. This could be underdoing things just a little in that vicinity, as you saw some of that rain in the picture. These yellow strips indicative of about 2 inches, but like I've been saying, maybe a little bit higher in some isolated spots. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center with another update at 6:15. You see that severe thunderstorm warning no longer on the board, and that's good news. But we still have some strong storms, quite a few strong storms, quite an area of strong storms around. You see all that lightning here in the Ward, Union, Bradford counties. So just take it easy out there this morning if you're headed out. Luckily, not too many of you probably headed on out, but nonetheless, if you are having to go on out, just be careful out there because it's going to be pretty slick on the roads. And in fact, we did get a flood warning here in play toward parts of Gilchrist as well as over there in Columbia and Alachua as well. Just in the last hour, you'll be able to see a little bit better on our tools east of Belroy around, it looks like the Williford community, picking up about 3 inches of rain here. So definitely seeing that really add on up here into word Gilchrist. And over the last 12 hours, you're going to be able to see that even a little bit more, getting closer to that 4-inch mark there. And then as we go ahead and take all of this off, you see all the lightning. Just look at all this lightning here. These different icons indicative of that. I mean, significant lightning with the purple indication there around Lake Butler. That kind of tells a story here this morning about how nasty things are out there. So let's go ahead and see if we can pull up the Bradford Sheriff's weather stem camera now. And you do see some of that storminess around. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on that here to see what that's showing this morning. No active severe warnings at the moment. So what I may do here, if we don't have something come on out in the next few minutes, I might wrap this covered up. But cloudweather.com/radar is the place to go when we don't have severe weather necessarily occurring. It's just significant type of weather we don't really need to be on. But I do want to talk about some power outages. There's not many, but there are a few. So let's go ahead and pop that on here. We'll move away from our camera for now and go on over with some of this lightning around. Probably see a little bit of an increase in those numbers here. But this is poweroutage.us. Don't see too many over toward the first coast right now here in North Central Florida though. And then it adds up a little bit. Gilchrist really 69, seeing that 173 in Taylor. Numbers not extreme, not like what we're seeing toward Bay County around Panama City with everything they had there yesterday. I mean, we were in the thousands there, just like we were toward Escambia and Pensacola, but still seeing a few power outages, and with this lightning around, could have a few more add on up, even with some of these winds, some of this hail potential as well, seeing some of those numbers add up just a little bit. So I just got to be mindful of that potential here on this Sunday morning. I know it's been a busy last few days, third day in a row of having to cover and cut in for severe weather. So just kind of the nature of things sometimes. We should be in a more calm pattern as we look ahead to tomorrow and Tuesday. Might have some more moisture Wednesday. We'll have to kind of fine tune that and see how things go there. But at least calming on down after we get out of this area here of moisture, the area we're talking about now, and in the area in the Gulf that has to work its way through as well. That could be more organized. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to wait and see with that. But there's a lot of lighting out there. I mean, I'll just kind of zoom around if you're watching this morning. I know you guys have interest in this. So Brooker, it looks like in the last 5 minutes or so, we've seen frequent lightning around there, getting upwards of about 5, 6, 7 lightning strikes, something like that. In toward that vicinity. So just interesting to see here overall. I mean, if you kind of look around, you just see a lot of these are indicative of more than one strike even. So this goes to show how loud it is outside. I'm hearing pretty frequent lightning in toward this dark area where I'm at here. So that's something to keep in mind, as well as this moisture moving on in. I'll back it up a little bit. This is what radar looked like about 6:06, and then going all the way back to 6 here on this. Moving pretty quick, actually. So that's the good news overall. But let's look for the hail potential now in here. We're not going to see too much, but and we're not seeing too much at the moment like what we were getting earlier, and that's good news. There may be a little bit of small hail trying to peek on down, though. As we go back to the last hour, you can see how we're seeing more of that. We did get a gust, by the way, at Horseshoe Point, 50 miles an hour there at a weather stem site with that storm as it was moving on shore there in toward parts of Dixie County. So things aren't severe at the moment, But we just have to watch. We just have to track them because things can change pretty quickly here. As I see a hail indicator up there in towards southern Georgia a little bit. We're watching for that. But the strong storms around Stark, not severe right now. I'm going to check, just make sure we're not missing anything. Because it's more of a situation that's not quite as organized as what we were dealing with yesterday. That's why we're not going to keep that stream on unless it's really started to pop one up with the warnings. Now, if we get a watch, that might change. Definitely might change here depending on how the situation goes on. It's just kind of tough. I know with timing even on some of this yesterday, we were watching everything toward Tallahassee. We thought it may end up being the case here, but that squall line did luckily get out of the way for it after the spring game pretty early on. Even that lingering moisture really getting out. So that was some good news for them. It was cloudy there, but that's definitely some good news there toward Tallahassee and FSU. They were able to get that spring game in there. Get some good work for the offense and the defense and special teams as well. But let's go ahead and go back on over here toward DR level 3. You do see here our lightning tracker. Just seeing quite a bit of this. This is showing them in a little bit different ways. That's why you don't see quite as many, but there's really a lot of lightning out there. It's just based on the geographical distribution. It shows lightning here on the map. But again, around Stark, pretty nasty conditions here this morning. You can hear that thunder. I mean, it sounds like you're listening maybe to a thunder video on YouTube or something out here right now. To some extent, you hear some of those rumbles. Maybe not quite loud enough to be picked up here at all times, but nonetheless, hearing some of that around here as we get back into toward Bradford County now. You see some of the heaviest rain here around Southwest County Road 225 in the Sampson area. Also out there toward our bypass, so we can kind of zoom in there. You see that bypass outline there, and then put that back on. That's really starting to move in as the radar's about a minute or two behind, so that's starting to move in there right about now. In fact, as we're getting out to the word, it looks like West Lakeshore Drive. As you hear more of that thunder pick on up here, it's going to be pretty frequent out here this morning in toward the Stark area. Just going to be hearing some of that for sure. You're seeing frequent lightning, significant lightning here in the area. That's the storyline. We're currently at 62 where I'm at, 63 there toward Keystone, 62 Gainesville. So pretty cool overall. Could have some hail around. We'll just have to wait and see. We had some toward Archer earlier. If you guys were watching, I was talking about that potential. Again, I know cloudweather.com/radar is a good place to go. I don't think we need to really stay on for this right now because I'm not seeing anything like rotation, something like that. But I know it's always interesting when a lot of the viewers are being impacted by storms. You just kind of hear that noise outside and you wonder what's going on. You're waking up toward that, and having that toward your area. So let's pop on radar scope here to give you this perspective. You see some of this heavier action moving in further on, so definitely watching for that. Here I'll kind of outline some of this. In fact, as we're getting in toward, let's try that again, getting here in toward areas of Bradford County, some of this action here around State Road 100, getting here, some of this definitely the story, some of that lightning really concentrated in that area. So gonna go ahead and be watching for that here as it tracks on in. Frequent lightning there around that bypass if you're looking west. And speaking about looking there in toward that vicinity, let's go back to the Bradford Weatherstone camera once again. Always interesting to pop that on up, give you that perspective here on things. And we're not showing necessarily the live feed, or you'd be seeing some of those flashes probably, but nonetheless, getting out there, some nasty weather overall there. I know Rayford are getting some lightning up that way as well, so a rumbling morning here around for sure. Just be careful on the road. This is not severe weather we generally wouldn't be on, but since we have this right around Stark, I'm staying a couple extra minutes here with this coverage since we have just a lot of weather that might be waking you up with that lightning around. I'm sure people are being awakened there toward areas around Stark. I mean, right on the west side of town, for instance. So That's something that is worth noting. You just kind of want to know what's going on with the Doppler technology, or to see exactly how much this rain adds on up here over the next little bit, as we're looking at some of our different tools here in our toolkit. You're going back over toward the broad sense now of the situation. You see all that lightning around Stark, around Sampson, moving on in here pretty quick. So nasty Stark Keystone's getting into quite a bit of this. Putnam Hall there, Orange Heights, down toward Gainesville. Don't again want to be driving right now. Archer, Bronson still getting into some of this. Down toward the Gulf Coast, a little bit better there right now, but more action coming into the picture, and even more action later on. That's to be more organized. Having a little bit of trouble picking up on this as we're looking higher up in the storms at this point, but to even be able to see them this far out in the Gulf with the radar coverage is indicative of pretty strong action overall. I think we'll have to watch for that for sure. You have all that energy out there in toward that region. And then as we put on our meso overlay, just interesting to see the wind shifts here as well. See some of these lower pressure values around here. I know we're at about 1,011 now. We were down closer to about 1,007 millibars earlier though, where I'm at. So kind of interesting to keep tabs on that. I see a marine warning this issued all the way to 9:30 by the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. That's a really long fuse marine warning. As they're watching that action going east at 55 knots, as that's pretty quick out there in toward the Gulf of Mexico. So more rain's coming. And speaking of more rain coming here in the picture, we'll go ahead and take off some of our different current information and bring it back to the home view per se, and switch you on over to some of our model data before I think we'll wrap this up. I'm just staying on because we hate to have to go off, come back on here. And I see a significant weather advisory over Bradford now, which I'll talk about. Not severe though, just significant weather advisory. But our latest model data coming on in here, trying to track some of this. This is underdoing things obviously, but it does show the action in the Gulf pretty good. So that kind of can give us an indication of what could happen. Maybe the atmosphere being in a little bit different state, but you see that action in the Gulf. This kind of tells the story. They zoom out even a little bit further here. This is 8 a.m. Then we'll go over toward 9 a.m. and then 10 a.m. even seeing some of that. Maybe moving a little quicker than what this shows, but this is why there's that slight risk towards central Florida, and you see pick up some pretty strong winds here with the line as it approaches the coast. Even a spin-up tornado can't be ruled out here with this line as it moves towards Ocala, maybe around noon, give or take, but already getting a lot of moisture before. So could have some flooding problems here into some of our spots as you see the line eventually moving down, and then just more lingering moisture, I think, behind. Hopefully we don't have any more of this severe action. You never know, I guess, but the threats are supposed to be based on everything that we've seen lower off here toward the north. You see that line though going down toward the south as we kind of scrub here in our mode of the Doppler radar. Wind's not really picking up too much where I'm at, so that's good, but that could always change as some of the worst of this moves on in now in toward Bradford. Let's go ahead and take off our forecast model super as we're now going to that live radar. Live radar once again here, that lightning around Stark in Bradford County. If you're waking up around US 301 here, if you're around Bradford High School, if you're even as we get up toward the north here, you see some of this coming in towards Laurie, not as robust maybe, but right here in Bradford County. I'll take off this later real quick. We'll kind of break things down. I mean, even as we're getting down toward Walmart, for instance, getting into some of this here this morning, Winn-Dixie as well. So just trying to give you some of those local landmarks per se, identifiers, as this does move on in next few minutes closer toward the hospital as well. So watching for that. Stark Golf and Country Club starting to see that action pick on up close to where I'm at. So seeing that potential here. Gainesville, Alachua County, University of Florida getting a lot of this moisture as well. Look outside real quick there, and you see some of that on our camera lens for sure. So just stay weather aware. Could have some more warnings as the morning goes on. That rain picking on up here. We're watching things. We're tracking them here in the Weather Center The latest on that significant weather advisory at 7:15. Weather Service talking about a line here of storminess from about Rayford to Satsuma moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. Radford, Alachua, East Central Columbia, southwestern Duval, as well as northern Flagler, southwestern Nassau, St. John's, northern Marion, southern Baker, Putnam, Union, Clay, south central Charlton here with that threat about 7:15. Gainesville, Palm Coast, St. Augustine, Palatka, Orange Park, Green Cove Springs, Stark, Bunnell, Lake Butler, and Crescent City here. Small hail, excessive cloud to ground light, and minor flooding, and that's due to that possible heavy rainfall moving on in. So frequent cloud to ground lightning, of course, always dangerous out there. Don't want to be outside. I've been hearing some of that where I'm at. I just have to be really careful out there with that threat. I'll be watching back on as needed here throughout the day. For now, go to cloudweather.com/radar for the latest look at things interactively, and a cloud_WDX on Twitter gives you a good look here at things in terms of those active warnings as they pop up from the National Weather Service in Jacksonville, in Tallahassee. Stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in.